Spanish does not have grammatical gender. Neither does German, nor Basque, nor any other language. It seems wrong. Like, what? You might be thinking, I speak one of these languages, and it has grammatical gender. Lipamanka, you don't know what you're talking about. But I do. And it's because languages are constructs. They aren't made out of structures we can comprehend. Language emerges from the brain. Like, okay, here's Broca's area. We know that when people experience enough blunt trauma to this area of the brain, they become unable to form grammatical sentences but are still able to list relevant content words. Like instead of, my guitar string broke, which is a good sign that I should restring it, someone with Broca's aphasia, which is what this condition is called, may just say like, guitar, string, broken, restring. So we know that Broca's area has something to do with grammar. This is Wernicke's area. We know that when people experience enough blunt trauma to this area of the brain, they retain the ability to form grammatical sentences, but these sentences are nonsense. The desire to communicate is there, but sentences just go on and mean nothing, even if they fit grammatical structures. So we know that Wernicke's area has something to do with meaning, and probably also associates the correct content words with surrounding context. But beyond very general knowledge about areas of the brain, we don't know how language emerges. It's too complex for us to comprehend from a physical basis. The field of linguistics simply attempts to analyze it. Every single linguistic feature, be it gender or conjugation, is something linguists made up to describe observations about how people use language. So let's get some premises down. 1. A language is an emergent structure in the brain. 2. A list of linguistic features is an analysis. 3. The only way we can understand language is through analysis. And 4. We only understand the analysis, not the language itself. So what about conlangs? Well, oh no. Under this definition, most conlangs aren't languages, they're analyses. Conlangs aren't real languages. How terrible. Well, wait, okay. Conlangers may make things that resemble languages in the same way that landscape painters make things that resemble landscapes. Conlangers even call these things languages, just like painters have labeled this type of painting a landscape painting. Conlangs are artistic representations of real language built on tools of linguistic analysis. That doesn't make them illegitimate in any way, of course. Just because conlangs don't fit the most physical and literal definition of language doesn't mean that they are not worth consideration. While I like looking at landscapes in person, I equally like looking at a landscape painting because I get to see all of the artistic decisions made by the painter. Likewise, I like looking at the constructed analysis of a hypothetical language that does not exist as an emergent communicative structure of a brain because I can see all the artistic decisions made by the conlanger. But as soon as someone learns a conlang, it becomes a real language because it becomes an emergent structure in a real human brain. And there's nothing fishy going on here. When scientists at MIT scanned the brains of conlang speakers while they spoke conlangs, brains processed them in exactly the same way as natural languages. Like, if I wanted to learn Turkish, I could learn through an analysis. That's how most textbooks teach languages. So no wonder an analysis of a hypothetical language can give way to a real language. Alright, now you all know the truth about conlanging. Conlangs aren't languages, they're analyses. Thank you to my patrons. Eat a good fish. But wait, Lipamanka, doesn't the whole video hinge on your own definition of the word language? Yeah. Well, what if someone else defines language as a list of features? I mean, what's stopping someone from doing that? My definition of language is based on physics and biology. We don't understand language, only the analyses we make for it. But that isn't a very useful definition of languages. It's no wonder that it's not the definition that most linguists use when they do linguistics. What are you getting at, man I made from straw? Here's my analysis. If people use the English word language to describe a set of features, and this usage is common, as descriptivists, we must accept it as correct. But this usage obscures important information about the field of linguistics, making it a misleading definition that misinforms conlangers. My definition is more useful to conlanging. Is it? Let's examine that. It might be useful in order to teach about the physical nature of languages, but conlangers are able to make great conlangs without your definition, relying instead on the definition where a language is a set of features. That's a good point, but even if languages are sets of features, these sets of features don't stop being analyses. Conlangers should understand that what they are making is still an analysis, even if that analysis is also being defined as a language. That's logical, but how does it help anyone? Conlangers should phrase their list of features as an analysis. Because conlangs are hypothetically spoken by people, instead of writing that a language has a feature, people should write that a feature can be used to analyze usage. Let's take this paragraph as an example. Instead of phrasing it as a list of features the language has, the description of the grammar of this language sounds better when it treats these features as analyses. Here are my changes. This does make it sound more like a professional grammar written by a linguist. Instead of gender being treated as something the language is composed of, it's treated as an analysis that describes how speakers use these words. In fact, this makes Gasham seem like more of a language than before. Yeah, wording like this really helps bring the language to life. The slight change in phrasing does make it a little more verbose, but it personifies and validates the speakers of the language. I guess I have one lingering question, Deepamanka. What about languages that are not created to have a fictional speaker base, like logical languages, engineered languages, auxiliary languages, and so on? I'll be honest, I don't really care about those types of conlangs, which is why I never make them or really think about them. But you learned one of them. I did? Yeah, Tokipona. Oh, well, Tokipona already had plenty of speakers by the time I learned it. I think that if it didn't have any speakers, I wouldn't have been interested enough to learn it. Maybe I don't really like abstract conlangs like these that try to push the limits of what language is. Like, I never got into loglangs or ithquil, even though I've tried. Makes sense. Alright, thanks for chatting with me, man I made from straw. Bye. Wait, aren't you gonna say the thing? The what? Eat a good fish. Oh, I already said that. This whole conversation has been the epilogue. That's silly. Okay, you're getting annoying. I'm going to integrate you back into the substrate of my consciousness. Oh no, oh my god, what?